breaking down the Vikings from the perspective of a former NFL General Manager of the Year. It's Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, presented by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers.
And welcome to Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday and Thursday during the Viking season by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers and the 2024 GMC Sierra on 1500 ESPN, available 24/7 on YouTube via links from the 1500 ESPN and Score North websites. I'm Jeff Diamond, former Vikings GM, former Tennessee Titans president. Our producer, Sam Bird, does a great job putting the show together. And first of all, we'll say it's usually every Monday and Thursday, but next week it's Thanksgiving. So we'll be on Monday and Wednesday next week.
We'll probably be the only ones here in the studio. Exactly. That's okay.
Come Wednesday night. But definitely looking forward to the Vikings heading to Soldier Field in Chicago this coming weekend. It's another NFC North battle between the Vikings and the Bears. And I have a lot of memories, Sam, of my career in Chicago or in Minnesota, visiting Chicago and games with the Bears every year, all the great players they had over the years, and going back to Walter Payton running for 275 yards against us, setting an NFL record back in 1977, my second year in the league, and other great games. I saw Archie Manning get sacked 11 times in 1984 by that fantastic Bears defense, led by Dan Hampton and Mike Singletary. But I saw a lot of great Vikings wins, too, like the 98 season, Denny Green's first year here. Jack Del Rio had an 84-yard interception return. We drilled the Bears 38-10 on a Monday night in Soldier Field. So good memories, bad memories, but it's always been a great series. Mike Ditka, Jim McMahon, lots of colorful characters in Chicago over the years. And the Bears will enter this game, Sam, as a very desperate team.
Absolutely. They have so much on the line. I mean, the development of Caleb Williams has been such a key talking point all season, and the coaching, and you've seen the changes that they made in the coaching office, and they're playing for a lot right now. This is going to be a decisive game for them.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Matt Eberflus is coaching for his job, and fired the offensive coordinator Shane Waldron last week, and Thomas Brown took over. Had a little bit better results for Caleb Williams, had a better game against the Packers. But, of course, the Bears found a way to lose, as they have the last four games now. They were 4-2 at one point. It looked like they could be a playoff team. Lost four straight. A couple of really devastating losses. The Hail Mary against Washington on the final play by Jaden Daniels. And then last week with a blocked field goal on the final play when Eberflus had 30-some seconds to move Cairo Santos closer, chose not to, afraid of fumbling the ball or whatever. I think that's a bad move. Get him as close as you can when you got time, and give it to DeAndre Swift. Let him run the ball, whatever. Tell him to hold on to the ball with two hands tightly, but they didn't, and that field goal got blocked. So the Bears come in on a 4-game losing streak. As I said, a really desperate team. They know their season's on the line this week. They've got Detroit on Thanksgiving coming up next week. So in Detroit, not a favorable matchup that's going to be. So the Bears have to figure, we got to win this game or we're going to be staring at 4-8. For the Vikings, 8-2. And I'll say this, Sam, going into this 3-game road swing, I really felt if they won 2 of the 3, even though they were playing losing teams, it's still tough to win on the road, and things can happen, injuries or whatever, and bad plays. I thought if they won 2 out of 3 and got to 8-3, they would still be in great shape to at least make the playoffs. They would have had to probably win all 3 to be able to keep the pressure on Detroit in the division. But now you win the first 2, and you say, okay, this is a division game, a big game, in tiebreakers and everything else. So all of a sudden, if they can win this week, have the 3-game sweep on the road, and they're 9-2, coming into a 3-game homestand,
right?
And looking at playing Arizona, it's not going to be an easy team. Next week, Atlanta comes in, would be the big Kirk Cousins matchup, and then they got the Bears again on a Monday night. They're 3 in a row at home. I think they could be in pretty good shape to stay close to Detroit heading to that last game of the regular season. But as I said, I think Detroit is still the best team, but you never know what's going to happen on a one-game deal if they can get that close. But for this week, they have to focus on the Bears and winning in Chicago. Never easy, windy, can be cold. It's supposed to be around 50, so it's not going to be terribly cold. But that wind coming off the lake is always hard on kickers. Parker Romo, he's made all 5 of his field goals. He had the 1 extra point miss last week. He's going to have to be good this week because one thing the Bears do well, their defense, they've allowed touchdowns in the red zone only 40.6% of the time this year, which is the league best or the league low. What that tells us is that Parker Romo's going to be kicking some field goals.
That's right.
Because the Bears have a good red zone defense and a good defense overall. They're 13th in the league on defense. Their offense has been really inconsistent, 28th ranked and 30th ranked passing game. They've got an awful offensive line that has not protected Caleb Williams. He's been sacked 41 times, which is the second most in the league. I think that's the matchup that really favors the Vikings. But we'll talk about that. We'll get into our predictions because I think, as I said, the Vikings with 35 sacks, which is the third most in the league. That's the great matchup. And I think the Bears will also try to run the ball in this game with DeAndre Swift, who's a good running back, but not if he doesn't have any blocking. And I think they'll go to that short passing game that the Rams incorporated, try to get the ball to DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, and Cole Kmet, their good tight end. The Bears have plenty of talent, but the offensive line has just not panned out. And whether it's been some lousy free agent signings or questionable draft picks, they haven't been able to get that quite right. And that's where I think Brian Flores will take advantage. And we also know this, Sam. Brian Flores against rookie quarterbacks. It's a great stat I heard this week. Rookie quarterbacks are 1-7 against Brian Flores as a defensive coordinator in New England and Minnesota or as a head coach.
Wow.
And we've seen it this year against Brock Purdy, against C.J. Stroud, against even Jordan Love, Mac Jones. It's been tough on these young quarterbacks. Even Will Levis last week, he threw for some yards because the secondary decided to go to sleep. But he also was sacked 5 times, had that big turnover at the end of the game as the Vikings beat the Titans. So as we kind of preview this game, let's hear from Kevin O'Connell, the head coach, as he talks about getting into the big, important part of the season, November, December.
Really important part of the season, late November into December. Chance to take all the things we've learned about our team, try to keep improving and put it all together. In the division, NFC North road game, they're always difficult. Chicago played really well last week, and I think they've got a very talented roster, a really good young quarterback who at any point in time continues to show all the things that we saw when we were going through the evaluation process of the entire rookie class. So we got to play really well defensively. Matt's always had a really good defense since he got there, and we're going to have to put it all together with the special teams phase as well. And they've got some really good special teams phase guys that can change the game.
I think one of the keys for the Vikings in this game, going against a very good defense in the Bears, get a little bit better production out of the running game. They got 82 yards last week, but it was kind of a difficult 82 yards. They ran 33 times, about a 2.5 average. The Bears not as good against the rush, 23rd in the league compared to how good they are against the pass, which is 9th, with a Pro Bowl corner, Jalen Johnson, who likely will be following Justin Jefferson around, although I think they'll still double Justin, and a great pass rusher in Montez Sweat, who has kind of struggled a little this year. He's got 3.5 sacks. He had 12.5 last year. So he's a little below his pace, but he's dangerous. Gave the Vikings problems last year when the two teams met here in Minnesota late in the season. He had 1.5 sacks in a 12-10 Bears win. The Vikings had beaten the Bears in Chicago 19-13 earlier in the season, and we remember that game. For this particular big play where Danielle Hunter sacks Justin Fields and injured his thumb, and he was out for 4 or 5 weeks after that.
Needs 7 yards. He's got time, and now the pressure gets to him. He tried to flip it last second, but I think they're going to say he's down. Danielle Hunter.
On the field is that the quarterback was down prior to the pass.
Danielle Hunter now doing his thing in Houston. Vikings are okay because they got Jonathan Grenard kind of in a swap and saved a few bucks in the meantime that they could put towards Andrew Van Ginkel and Blake Cashman. I think it turned out pretty darn good for the Vikings with that deal. And with Danielle especially being 3 years older than Grenard, and Grenard one of the pressure leaders in the NFL. But just getting back to the need to run the ball, I think it's important in this game, and not to put Darnold at risk to being sacked. And I think having more short passing again is important to kind of protect him a little bit, which they did in Tennessee to a certain extent. And he had his best game in a month. Aaron Jones talked about trying to get the running game going and what he expects from the Bears. He's played them a lot from his career in Green Bay.
You're going to come out, you're going to get their best shot, not just because of that, but like I said, because it's a division opponent. But then they're also on the defense side, they've been playing some good ball as well. So I feel like they did some good things last week against Green Bay, and that probably gives them a little confidence as well. So just not giving anybody any life, coming out starting fast, and when it's time to put the game away, you got to put the game away, and don't let a team like that linger around, because if you let them linger around, they will work their way back into the game.
So we're going to hear from Blake Cashman, Pat Jones, also Caleb Williams, talking from the Bears side about facing Four's defense. Look at some Bears highlights. But first, let's talk about our great sponsor, the Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers. There are trucks, then there's the truck, GMC Sierra, with available features like the V8 engine, the ultimate luxury interior, and of course, the available world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate. GMC Sierra, not just any truck, the truck. GMC's continued commitment to professional-grade engineering is on full display at your Select Minnesota GMC dealers. Stop by and choose from our wide selection of colors, models, and trim levels. Our friendly sales professionals are ready to work with you, so you drive home happy with not just any deal, the deal. So come take a test drive today. We are professional-grade GMC. Well-qualified buyers will get 0% APR on 2024 GMC Sierra light-duty models. See your Select Minnesota GMC dealers today. Length of contract limited. Some customers will not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 12/2/24. As we said, Vikings defense putting up some great numbers this season under Brian Flores. That great free agent class that they signed, and along with returning vets, and they've moved up to number 10 overall in defense. Their rush defense, as I mentioned, first in the league, and the Bears are going to try to establish the run to take the pressure off of Williams, but the Vikings with that number 1 rush defense, I think they'll shut them down like they did Tennessee last week, only 33 yards rushing. Vikings 4th ranked in points allowed. We talked about the sacks, 35 sacks, 3rd most. A lot of edges for that Vikings defense as they go into kind of this stretch run. Blake Cashman, really a key guy, one of those great free agent signings by GM Kwesi Adolfo-Mensa, and fitting in so well in Brian Flores' system as a blitzer. He's got 3 sacks as one of the leading tacklers, even though he missed 3 games. When Blake Cashman's been in the lineup, Sam, they're 7-0.
Ooh.
That speaks loudly of his value to this team on defense as the guy with the green dot relaying the defensive calls. He's great in coverage as a linebacker, also an excellent run defender. I think he's having a Pro Bowl caliber season. Here's Blake Cashman talking about facing the Bears and young quarterbacks too.
It definitely adds a little bit more stress to a defense. You have to be very disciplined in your rush plan to keep him contained in the pocket. And also on the back end for coverage, when a quarterback has a great ability to extend plays, get out of the pocket, you got to have that plaster awareness, because a lot of times you'll see receivers stair-step a DB or linebacker, and it'll be like a back shoulder throw, or they'll just take off running to the open spot in the field, and the quarterback will be able to find you if he doesn't have pressure in his face. So both the back end and the guys up front, we all got to be in tune with that.
You have to get after rookie quarterbacks while you can, because they learn quick.
I think so. I think they'll be prepared. It's obviously a very familiar team, and they're going to have a good idea of what we do. But I think whenever you can stress a quarterback, especially a young quarterback, bring pressure, get in his face, it's gonna cause problems for them.
The injury report this week: Josh Oliver, who really has been a key guy offensively in his run blocking and as a more targeted receiver at tight end for Sam Darnold. And it doesn't look like he's going to make it this week. He's got a wrist and an ankle injury. He's missed practice the last couple of days. We'll see. He's a tough guy, but kind of the tea leaves are saying it may be unlikely he's going to play. Swift has been battling a groin injury for the Bears, their leading running back, but he did return to practice on a limited basis. So we'll see about that. I think overall, you look at some of the other keys to this game. Grab an early lead. The Bears have allowed their opponent to score first in all 10 games this year, which is not a great stat for them. And so if the Vikings can get ahead, that Chicago crowd may kind of turn a little surly against the Bears and Matt Eberflus,
right,
who I think is going to be out of there after this year. Ben Johnson, he'd be a nice fit in Chicago, the Lions offensive coordinator, to work with young quarterback Caleb Williams. But we'll see what happens in Chicago. Matt Eberflus needs a big finish to the season to keep his job. But overall, rattling the young quarterback is going to be key. Stopping the run and the quick passing game, because you can expect that the Bears are going to try to follow what the Rams did with those quick wide receiver screens. DJ Moore runs those really well, a very quality player. And then, as we said, stopping Williams' scrambles are important. He ran for 70 yards against the Packers last week, so he's not shy about taking off and running. But I think that's where Cashman steps in. He's so good, and he's got good enough speed to run down a quarterback like Williams. And I think they're going to be definitely keeping all eyes on him, whether a spiral or whatever. Secondary must play better. As we said, run the ball better. And I think those are some of the keys, and that kicking game is going to be really important this week too. So talking about all those different variables, Pat Jones is a guy, and you talk about that Vikings pass rush that's been so great this year. He kind of disappeared for a few weeks a little bit. He had 5 sacks the first 4 games, then didn't have a sack, and then all of a sudden last week, boom, there he is, 2 sacks against Tennessee and a bunch of pressures. Pat Jones has resurfaced. That's good news for the Vikings defense, and he talked about, again, facing a young quarterback.
It's about trusting each other. Like I said, kind of just being in rhythm and sync with one another. And when we're doing that, I feel like we're playing our best ball.
When we say rookie quarterbacks, is that kind of frustrating because there's so many unknowns about a rookie quarterback?
Not really. I mean, we treat everybody with the same respect, so we're going to treat them the same way we would treat a veteran quarterback, and we're just going to go out there and just do what we need to do.
I mentioned before, Montez Sweat is a guy the Vikings have to protect against and be careful with, and also making safe throws for Sam Darnold. I'm not sure, Sam, this is the week to be throwing it down the field. Jalen Johnson, they got a Pro Bowl corner who we can expect is going to spend a lot of time covering Justin Jefferson with double coverage help. He had a kind of an interesting comment this week. He was talking about Darnold, and he said, I feel he hasn't been consistent. He started out hot, and he's had a lot of turnovers lately. Well, Jalen, not last week.
Right.
So we'll see about that, how that plays out. Maybe a little bulletin board material. I'm not sure Sam pays attention to that. He's kind of a cool customer, but maybe got a little challenge there by the Bears Pro Bowl corner. And as we said, Caleb Williams is going to be a key to this game, stopping him running, putting pressure on him, disguising coverages, disguising blitzes, jumping in and out of blitzes. And he talked this week about facing the Vikings defense.
Yeah, I think obviously, he's gonna blitz you. He's the king of cover zero blitz, and finding a bunch of different ways to do it. And then they'll switch it up and just fly 22 out from 2 yards away from me, and fly them all the way back to the safety and things like that. So us being decisive, us having a plan for all of that. And then from there, get the ball to your playmakers, run the ball well and efficiently. And from there, when they give you shots and give you explosive plays, you make those plays. And, it affects the, I guess you can say, play calling for the defense. When you're able to hit explosive plays, or when you're able to get the ball out and be decisive, when they're sending all these different exotic blitzes and things like that, I think it affects the play caller on the other side. And you got to find other ways to attack.
Caleb, I think it's going to affect you this week.
To say the least.
Yes, to say the least. But you never know. It is the NFL, and the Bears, as we said, have plenty of talent on that team to pull the upset of the Vikings. Vikings is about a 3.5-point favorite going into this game, which seems about right. And Sam and I are going to make our predictions when we come back, and also take a look around the NFL at some big games this weekend, including Detroit with maybe a trap game in Indianapolis. Probably not. And the Packers host the 49ers, who are a wounded team coming in there. A lot of other interesting games. The Harbaugh Bowl on Monday night, Jim against John. And it'll be an exciting Week 12 in the NFL. First, let's hear from our great sponsor, the Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers.
There are trucks. Then there's the truck, GMC Sierra. With available features like the V8 engine, the ultimate luxury interior, and of course, the available world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate. GMC Sierra. Not just any truck, the truck. GMC's continued commitment to professional-grade engineering is on full display at your local GMC dealer. Come take a test drive today and see for yourself. We are professional-grade. GMC. Well-qualified buyers get 0% APR for 36 months on GMC Sierra light-duty models. See your local GMC dealer today. Monthly payment is $28.16 for every $1,000 you finance. Average example down payment 15%. Some customers will not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 12/2/24.
A couple other keys to the game. Always win the turnover battle. Vikings have been very good at that this year. They're +4 in turnovers. Lead the league in takeaways with 21. Lead the league with interceptions with 16. The Bears also a very good turnover margin, +9, which is third best in the league. So what they don't do, they don't give it away a lot. They only have 8 giveaways this year, which is the 4th fewest. So despite the struggles of Caleb Williams, he doesn't throw a lot of picks, and he does get sacked a lot. The Patriots 2 weeks ago sacked him 9 times, and then the Packers last week got him 3 times. I think the Vikings will get him at least 5 this week, so we'll see how that plays out. Let's look at a couple of highlights of the Bears from their game last week with Green Bay. And here is a example of their pretty good defense on a 4th down stop of Jordan Love.
Love looking in deep trouble, escapes, going to try and run for it himself, got a way to go, and he's not going to get there. The Bears make a stand.
And at that point, a very close game in Chicago. But the Packers found a way to come back and win it late in the game. Another big play in the game by Chicago. They were down late and trying to make a big rally. Had a 4th down play, and here's Caleb Williams with a very clutch connection to his fellow first-round rookie, Rome Odunze.
And one thing before I play this, Jeff, you asked me to pull the 4th down play I was watching the replay of this game. I actually pulled the 3rd down and the 4th down play because they're both pretty equally phenomenal.
Yes.
So let's take a look.
4-man rush. Williams in trouble. Gets that out of 1 sack. Running for his life. Throws. Oh, it's a big catch. Not there yet, but it'll be a 4th and manageable. It's a Dunze.
Looks like man-to-man coverage.
4th and 3. Game on the line. Williams lofting one for a Dunze. He caught it!
That was a sweet back shoulder throw.
Such a great pass.
A great throw. And the play before, he showed his mobility. So those are things the Vikings are going to have to watch out for, and I'm sure they're talking about in that defensive meeting room this week. The game came down to, as has been their case the last 4 weeks, more heartbreak, a blocked field goal by the Packers.
And it's blocked! Oh my goodness, the Packers block it, and they're going to win!
And they did, and the Packers moved to 7-3, 1 game behind the Vikings, 2 games behind the Lions. Vikings chasing Detroit still, 1 game behind, but they're staying within shouting range of probably the best team in the NFL right now, the Detroit Lions. Okay, we're going to pick the game, and the Vikings game, and then look around the league at some other games. And I'll start, Sam. I think this is kind of a repeat of the Tennessee game to me, where Kevin O'Connell tries to play a little more safe, tries to run the ball, even if they're not having success, stick with the run. He did last week, 33 running plays, even though they only averaged 2.5 yards a play. But it's so important to set up their play-action game. And I think that they'll make enough plays offensively with Darnold making safe throws and maybe shaking Jefferson and Addison loose on occasion. I think, again, going against the rookie quarterback, it's just the matchup is so favorable for the Vikings pass rushers. I like the matchup of Jonathan Grenard going against Bears left tackle Braxton Jones. And I just see the Vikings pressuring Caleb Williams, forcing some mistakes, maybe a couple interceptions, a couple of forced fumbles, strip sack, whatever. I think the Bears have enough talent to keep it fairly close in Chicago on a field that can be a little bit treacherous at times. But I'm going to pick the Vikings. Sam, you're not going to like this, but I'm going with the same score as I did last week. I'm going 23-17. I think that's what my prediction was last week. And I had the Vikings right at 23. The Titans only got to 13. But I'm going to take the Vikings again, 23-17.
Well, Jeff, this is a true example of we don't talk about our predictions before we do the show. I think that this is actually going to be close. It's going to be, I agree with you, similar to the Titans game. I mean, similar to the Jaguars game. Time of possession is going to be important. They're playing outside. We all know as Vikings fans how the Bears field conditions can be. I think that it's going to be a defensive struggle. I think the Vikings offense is going to be a little bit slower. So like I said last week, Vikings fans will have to be patient with this one. There's also the question of Darnold's ankle. I mean, he popped up on the injury report, so I think you're gonna see a lot more running plays. And I think this one's going to really be a lower scoring defensive battle. And I had it actually 23-16.
Oh, we're close.
But now I feel compelled to change that. I'm going to say 20-16. The Vikings will find a way to win. But I'm going to throw a caveat in here. The Vikings always struggle in Chicago, so don't be surprised if Chicago finds a way to squeak one out, especially considering what they're playing for this weekend.
Yeah, it would not be a surprise if that happened. But I think the Vikings are the better team and should find a way to win this game. We will see how it turns out. Going around the NFL, I think we've talked about Detroit. Going to Indianapolis, you could call it a trap game if you want. I don't know that Dan Campbell ever gets trapped.
Right.
Because he's just such a fierce competitor and gets his guys ready to play. And they've got the Thanksgiving Day game coming up against the Bears, but I don't think Detroit's looking ahead. And they saw Indy. They know Indy's in the AFC playoff hunt at 5-6, and that they're going to go face a desperate team, kind of similar to what the Vikings are facing in Chicago. So I think the Colts may play them a lot closer than Jacksonville played Detroit last week when it was 52-6. But I think Detroit wins that game. I think a really interesting matchup is San Francisco at Green Bay. The 49ers, Super Bowl team last year, and now they go to Green Bay and they've got Brock Purdy with a right shoulder injury. George Kittle's hamstring, he says he's going to play. Nick Bosa has an oblique. He's questionable. They've already lost Ayuk and Hargrave, two excellent players. McCaffrey missed 8 games. The 49ers have just been so banged up all year. They got a really, really difficult schedule ahead. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. And I think that's going to be maybe the biggest surprise team not to make the playoffs this year. We know Dallas isn't going there, and that's a surprise going into the season. But the 49ers would be an even bigger surprise. I don't think they're going to get there. And I think Green Bay is going to find a way to win this week. How do you see that one?
Yeah, I think this one is I think more of a trap game than probably the Lions and the Colts. There's something about San Francisco where even though they have all the odds stacked against them, they still find a way to either keep it close or squeak out a win. But I agree with you. I think Green Bay will put them away.
Yeah, I think so. And a couple big night game, primetime games. The Eagles go to the Rams, big game in the NFC, and then the Harbaugh Bowl. Jim against John on Monday night with the Ravens going against the Chargers, two teams in playoff contention in the AFC. So we will be back on Monday to break down the Vikings and the Bears. And as I said, next week's second show will be on Wednesday due to Thanksgiving. And this has been Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday and Thursday during the Viking season by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers and the 2024 GMC Sierra on 1500 ESPN, available 24/7 on YouTube via links from the 1500 ESPN and Score North websites. This is Jeff Diamond with Sam Bird, and we will talk to you on Monday as we break down Vikings and Bears.